Do you believe that the county budget should be reduced or increased in real terms? What specifically would you propose to increase or reduce in real terms in the county budget?
Well, I think, we need to go in and look at the organization. The way that I've looked at the organization that they have currently, and I believe that you can restructure that and so forth. I have an MBA and have been familiar with restructuring of corporations and so forth. It seems to me to be a little top-heavy. And also, I think when going, department by department, you have to be very, let's take, you need to take a look at those particular elements of the budget where you get the biggest bang for the buck, okay? Not, like, for example, there's housing, thing that they have $17 million and they have this many FTEs, and then go in and cut it. But that's a department that's primarily funded by the federal government. It is a department that has, I think, only 1/3 of that budget is really funded by the county. And these are essential services that you have. So you really have to be careful in just taking an approach like that. When you take an approach, like for example, Public Works. The Public Works has an $86 million balance forward, okay? Now we want to be able to do roads and so forth. And you say, well, let's just, cut over here and get get rid of people and try to, solve the problem that way. When you have, in that particular instance, they have plenty of money, believe it or not. The issue is really, do they have the capacity? So it's not just a simple question of cut, 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 cut. It's a lot more complicated than that. And again, getting back to, and I agree with Jim over here, that now how are you going to fund the cleanup of the Indian River Lagoon? And we have backlogs of roads, we have backlogs, it's not only that department, it's the utilities department also that has a similar type problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Michael?
Okay, you brought up a familiar theme, I'm going to bring up my same familiar answer. I think we can cut the budget, I think we can cut the tax rate. For instance, when you look at Housing and Human Services, they have a $17 million budget. Last time I checked, $10 million of that came from the general fund, which is our tax dollars, okay? So if we cut that department down to size, then we don't have as much money coming out of our tax dollars. Another department that I have a big question about is eels, okay? We're buying land to leave it in its natural state. So why do we need 26 people to let land lie in its natural state? I can't figure that one out yet, and somebody needs to explain it to me. Okay? So there's two departments that I've already looked at, and I want to look at a lot closer. But in general, we have to look at every department. And yes, we need more money for roads, but when you do zero-based budgeting, you also do priorities. You start with the basics that we absolutely need. We need fire and police. We need roads, water, and sewer. We need libraries. We need courts. We need waste management. So you fund those first. Then you say, okay, how much money have I spent so far, and how much do we want to spend this year? And that tells you how much you've got left. And if you don't have enough for everything, then you're going to have to cut some of the wants out of the budget. I'm sorry. It's time for the taxpayers to get a break in this county. So that's my solution. Thank you.
In business, you look for the most efficient way of doing work. And what we really need to very carefully look at is, because in business, you have overheads. Overheads creep up on you when you have overtime. You have employees that build up more time there. You build up with fringe benefits. So what is important to do is take those critical positions, push those aside, those critical tasks such as fire rescue, the sheriff's department, all that stuff, everything, which the sheriff is, of course, a constitutional office. But then you need to look at where you can outsource. And you competitively bid some of these areas out to the local community, get Brevard County businesses working. on these projects, and you put it out for bid. And you look at and see what that's costing you. If you take the bid and it's a better price than what we're actually paying, then they went out. Because that's where you save money, because it keeps the creep that goes up and up over time. The other thing is talking about zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting from a government standpoint is very cumbersome. In fact, the second worst president of the United States brought it in, Jimmy Carter, and that came in and it was a total debacle. However, in a business, I use it every day, and you start at the bottom and you build it up, and you build your pricing based on performance metrics times the number of tasks you do, and the cost of that task. And then you build it up from the bottom. What that does for you is it gives you information that you can look at the budget later, and you go through and say, wait a minute, I'm challenging you. Why are you saying that? The other thing is the budget meetings and workshops need to go to that level and bring, so you and I can see it, and it needs to be discussed. That's the way it should be, so we can see the budget with complete transparency. And then you can take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Jack?
Yeah. Well, I think to begin with, we need to look at, I've spent the last year and 9 months meeting with each department head of each department of this county. And I've been to EELS meetings. I haven't seen anyone else at the EELS meetings. So I don't know what 15 people we're going to cut from EELS. If you look at our lagoon right now, nature does not solve every issue. Sometimes man has to take care of those issues and clean up behind himself. And 25 people running EELS, I think we got bigger fish to fry than those people in EELS. That's my opinion on that. As far as the budget's concerned, it's a very simple process. You start with low-hanging fruit. And what I mean by low-hanging fruit, I'll give you an example. To start with, we own 3 golf courses. The county owns 3 golf courses, parks and recs. I think those 3 golf courses are low-hanging fruit. I think that I'm not for taking a hammer to an issue. I'm for taking a scalpel to it. I think private enterprise come in and take over these golf courses so that it doesn't affect the property around that. And there's much more low-hanging fruit out there. But you got to start with that low-hanging fruit. You can't go in there with a big hammer and totally just wipe out jobs and wipe out our government the way it sits here today. I know there's people that would like to see that happen. It's not realistic, in my opinion. And I think we'll have some interesting banner about that here in the next few minutes, and I'm willing to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.